doubting which years are right, because what the book says and what the book says are false. When it says that Hadith al-Taqalay, we say our book say and your book say. You see? But then afterwards they also have a point of Quran and Sunnah. The Ahl Bayt is not mentioned. Even though it is only one hadith according to most of the narrations, when we have a repeated narrations in their own books, they don't want to believe it. And they have a difference for everything. They have a difference for anything that goes around. You say that why they did, for example, Hazrat Fatima alayhi salam, why did she oppose the government? And they will come and say, according to their own laws, we have a law that once you have a Khalifa, you cannot rise against them. You see, because we have a Khalifa. And then we have two different ideologies where they say that one, everything that is happening in this world is done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we don't have any involvement in it. And there is another ideology where we say that, according to them, not us, that Allah has created us. So whatever we do on our free will, it's us. Yani Allah created us and left us. You see, these are the ideologies of Aqaid in our brothers' school of thought. Now who are we? We are Amr Bain al-Amrayn. And if you see most of the things that we differ with the brothers, the Muslim brothers, we come to this point that we are Amr Bain al-Amrayn. A lot of things. We are not in this extreme nor that extreme. We say that we believe that everything that happens is because of Allah, and because the free will that He gave us is the one that chooses our actions or ourselves. It's not like He left us on our own. Because if He leaves us on our own, then we have no value. You see? And then we come to realize at the same time that when Imam Ali was asked in regards to destination and free will, where he says that when the companion asked that what is the difference between free will, how do I know that I have free will or not? So he says that lift your left leg up or one of your legs up, and he lifts. So that is his free will. Now lift the right leg up, he can't. All the circumstances does not allow him to lift both of his legs. I can lift both of my legs today, but I have a support. But I can't do that when I am standing. Why? Because there is one thing that was created in a way that I won't be able to do it. Whatever I want to do, the circumstances will allow me to do it. So lifting my one leg is my free will. But lifting the other leg while the first leg is up, that's not my free will, because there are no circumstances that allow me to do that. Only here when I show you right now that this circumstance came to existence. So this is in regards to the free will and predestination. Everything that happens, we have even a story from one of our scholars that was saying that this person goes to the bazaar and there's a place where he reaches, and we say that anagikwa, to fall out, or like a stone or something came on the road or fall, where he goes and it's like he wants to fall, but he doesn't fall. I've just changed the story, but it's similar. The difference of the portal was in the camel's leg. It was supposed to hit the person. But then afterwards it came to realize that he knew, because he was someone you will say that he would know that the world doesn't go like this. Even me falling on the portal or something is not out of nature. We say everything does ibadah, does zikr of Allah. There is a reason why this thing happened. And when you have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you know that everything goes according to His wishes, he came to realize when he was passing through the bazaar, there was a place where there was, let's say the example I would give right now, there was a woman that had a good scent, perfume that we say right now. So he looked at her, and at the same time he looked down to refrain himself from sinning the sin of the eye. By doing that, what happened is that because he looked He had to put his leg on the bottle. And because he refrained, it saved him from falling. So even the sin that we protect ourselves from sometimes has an impact on our lives. It doesn't seem that what we do we think is small. Just thinking the sin is small, it becomes big in itself. Because having a capacity to say that namo guna is a problem in itself. Itself is a moto guna. Moto guna like big guna, and moto guna jahannam. So it becomes a very big issue for this kind of. So we finished in regards to legislative rububiyya. Now we are coming to the relationship of servitude, of service. Being created by Allah, all are dependent of Him and have no self-sufficiency by themselves, not even for a moment in any position or at any stage. This is seen in how things have different states and conditions that we discussed last week, where we say that everything is in a process of doing zikr in its own way. For us human beings are by mentioning it. For others, beings or creations is in another way. When I gave a story of a scholar that would use zikr and he would hear the zikr from his house or his room, the words that would portray zikr. That is the largest form that a person is able to hear them. Or for example, the zikr of the animals and birds that could be heard by Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam. You see? Because Allah has said that they are doing zikr, so there is nothing lying about that. And we know that Prophet Sulaiman used to talk to animals and birds. So we see that the zikr itself is mentioned. The fulfillment of God's rights by keenly observing the way in which beings of this world come to existence, the intellect concludes that their existence must rely on an independent cause, because my existence in itself is of no value. I have to be dependent on a thing, an entity that itself should be independent. If I am dependent on the member today, right now that I am sitting, the member is made of wood, that is dependent on a carpenter, that is dependent on his knowledge, that is dependent on what he studied and his experiences, that is dependent on the carpenter being born, that is dependent on parents to be there so that he comes to existence. You go back till you reach that, there is only one thing that is independent in its existence, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So directly or indirectly our existence needs this kind of entity to survive itself. On the other hand, the intellect also concludes that the beings of this world have a responsibility with respect to this real relationship that they have with their Creator. This responsibility is that of showing humility before their Creator and is manifested by obeying His commands. In general, there are two types of obedience and servitude that beings have towards the Creator of this world. First, obedience, which in the existential sense is alongside the existence of every being. That means are under the command of Allah with regards to the creation and the continuation of their existence, as well as in their affairs such as sleeping, wakefulness, growing, being elder, young, being born, health, illness. These are not things that are in our own control. Even having malaria, which is very common in Zanzibar, or being sick because of the mosquito, that mosquito is a creation of Allah. We are told, right, that when a person is sick, his sins wither from him like the leaves in summer, autumn, winter, spring, autumn, right? Yeah. In autumn, the way leaves come out from the trees in autumn, that is how the sins are away from, they come out from this person in this manner. And second, the obedience that takes place through a kind of knowledge and choice and is specific to those beings that possess intelligence and free will. Only intelligence doesn't make sense. So if we have creation that only have intelligence, no free will, then that doesn't make sense. And that's why they are called artificial intelligence. If there's something that is missing, is the free will. And these kind of creations are human beings and jinn, of which this kind of obedience relies on knowledge as well as free will, and they are free to accept right from wrong. It's not imposed onto them or rejected. Allah has introduced this obedience as being that the main purpose of creating human beings and jinn is وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create the jinn and the humans except that they may worship me. We don't know about jinns, they know about us. Even in some narration that we have seen or we have heard, where we see this might be a true narration or not, but because it has been mentioned by a few of the scholars as well, so I'm just narrating in regards to Zafar jinn. Now here, whether this incident is true or false, that's another concept, but I just want to bring what happened in that event where they come to Imam Hussein and they ask him to support him, and where he says that don't kill them or like refrain yourself from joining us right now. And the reason is being that you can see them, they cannot see you. So this is not adl in war. You see, because now you have things that they don't. Today, if you see, that's what's happening around the world, where the zalim has an extra power over the mazlum and does not even accept a ceasefire because he has a power in him. And is only going to accept ceasefire if it feels that it's going to be defeated or the armies are tired of fighting or they don't have motivation. You see? So these are some of the things that we know that the jinns do see us, we don't see them. We are not able or capable of being with them or seeing them. But if Allah wills, He will open our eyes to that as well, which is requires a lot of spiritual guidance to be able to reach in a position just like that. Before mentioning the dimensions of sincere servitude, it is necessary to briefly mention the meaning of sincerity, which is ikhlas, its importance and necessity. The meaning of sincerity, the Arabic word khalis means pure. Something is called khalis when the signs of it being mixed with something else has been removed. There is no possibility of it being remained mixed with something else. That remains khalis. In terms of a technical terminology, an action with ikhlas is a righteous action in whose performance there is no expectation other than the reward of the hereafter or praise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this manner, the reality of ikhlas is to disassociate oneself from everything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sincerity is the opposite of ostentation, which is riyah. Ostentation or riyah is a worship means to perform worship for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to take partner other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Riyah invalidates acts of worship such as prayers, fasting, and obligatory actions, because the sincere intention of gaining proximity to Allah is one of the conditions of such worship. However, riyah does not invalidate obligatory actions that do not have such conditions, like the one that the one that we say that it is the condition of gaining proximity to Allah. If that is not there, then it's okay. And in these conditions, such as transactions that we do, business transactions that we do, We do business, we buy and sell for what? For profit. But then say that I am doing this for the way for the reason of attaining Allah's rizq, then it's a change of intention. It's double of what you are doing, because you have changed your intention to what? Not only gaining profit, but for the sake of, for example, halal. When you buy and sell, you are able to use it in a halal way. You see? So that is one of it. Or avoiding prohibited actions. However, Riyah does not. Nonetheless, the human is deprived from the spiritual effect of such obligatory action when he does not have such sincere intentions. While performing sincere action, as per Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, the praise of others has no importance for the human. This is because sincere person has purified himself from the impurities of the world and its affairs such as gaining popularity, acquiring position, money, and wealth. In return for their actions, they only expect praise and gratitude from the glorious and honorable Lord. So the people that don't care for anyone praising them for what they did, or when they don't do whatever it is for the sake of Allah, they don't expect for praise. People do praise because they see a good action, they like it, they praise. But this person is not expecting it. Something similar to other actions that we have that we are not expecting. For example, if I talk about it, it will go somewhere else. But just like this, because we are not expecting, it's not a problem if someone praises you. But expecting it, because this is in regards to ourselves. So that has an effect in our spirituality. Even in regards to when we see the example of someone coming, if you remember at the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, or one of the prophets, a scholar was on the mountain and he used to do ibadah, and shaitan goes and does 10 times more ibadah than this person. And then he asked, what did you do? He said, I went to sin. I realized that sin and I did repentance. And my repentance is what is forcing me to do this. He goes to a place of sinning, and the person that was there knows that he's a scholar. And when he wanted to commit a sin, that person told him, okay, this is shaitan. If you go and see him over there, come back. But I'm sure you won't see him. And shaitan has one principle. He just targets where he wills. Once the target is done, now that's your free will. If you go to sin, or you are able to retract back from sinning, shaitan won't come back at the same time. This is what the story also tells us in one of the part, because the main urgency was because he wanted to worship him in a way this person was worshipped, which was shaitan. And that feeling that had, he was told that he should go and do this thing, and he will be able to. And we'll end our lecture for today here, and inshallah we'll continue the importance and necessity of sincerity inshallah next week.